Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Million by 1Million Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M by 1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. In support of that mission, we do these free mentoring sessions every week, week after week after week. We started doing these in the fall of 2008. So if this is the 529th episode, every single episode recording is available on our YouTube channel. So 1M1M Roundtables is the name of that channel. On Twitter, we're at 1M by 1M and at Romana. Today's hashtag is 1M1M. These are the call-in numbers. Nowadays, WebEx also allows you to activate your audio to participate in the roundtable a little bit later. It is a roundtable, not a broadcast, so we would like you to participate as much as you'd like to. We do have scheduled programming first. Let's get through that, and then we will open it up. Today, we're going to start the conversation with Stefan Batory, co-founder and CEO of Booksy. I met Stefan a little while back, and we did an entrepreneur journey story on his journey. And I found it fascinating and enlightening, and I invited him back to talk with us at the roundtable here today. I expect that you're going to learn a lot. So welcome, Stefan. Great to see you again.
Welcome, Sarmana. Great to be here.
All right, so I'm going to focus on a few different pieces of your journey and try to highlight some important elements that you have, practiced that are strategic and principles that we actually teach quite, regularly in our program. So the first one is you bootstrapped a company, a marketplace company with a services business first. So could you talk about your services business? What was it? How did you do it? You were doing this from Poland. So talk about what was the environment in Poland at the time, so we can get a feel for the beginning of your journey.
Of course. So Poland is famous for having one of the best education system, and we have some of the world's finest developers alongside India, Russia. So Polish developers are always ranked in top 3 in various competitions run by Google or Facebook or universities. And my first business was just a software development house, and we built custom software for various clients around the globe. We worked for clients here in the US, in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia, Australia, and all over Europe. But what I realized was that this model wasn't really scalable, because to double our revenue, we pretty much had to double our headcount. And year after year, for 12 consecutive years, the company had been growing 2 to 3x every single year. Deloitte put us on the list of the fastest growing companies in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. But it was very growing, because recruiting so many developers every single year, it was just scary. And at some point, I started looking at different business models, wondering if I can leverage great developers that we had in Poland and great talent with a model that was more scalable. So that's how I transitioned from running a service business into a SaaS-led marketplace, which is Booksy.
And just a couple of questions about the services business. How big did it get? How many people? What kind of revenue levels did you get to before you switched to Booksy?
So I had over 200 developers when I left the company, and we had over $10 million revenue.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about, you said you left the company, your partner from the services company continued running the services company. What kind of a deal did you do when you left? Your shares were still there? Did you sell your shares? What was the transaction?
So that company had a subsidiary, actually two subsidiaries. One was a ride-hailing app, iTaxi, which is the leading ride-hailing app in Poland. And then there was a part of that business that was a spin-off that was also a service business. So basically we split the company, and I got those two subsidiaries, and part of my shares, I still, hold shares in that primary company, but I took over those two smaller companies or subsidiaries. And Booksy is a spin-off of the other one, because that company worked for so-called classified media newspapers, local community newspapers that helped local businesses to advertise and people to trade and buy and sell different stuff, like cars, like pets. And one of their biggest category were services, home services, professional services, and personal services. So at first, when we started thinking about Booksy, it was supposed to be a white label solution for those classified media providers to address their need to build a mobile product for local services. And I came up with that idea when preparing for Marathon des Sables, which is the toughest foot race on earth, 6 back-to-back marathons across Sahara Desert in self-sufficiency formula. And as I was ramping up my mileage for that race, I had an issue scheduling appointments with my physiotherapist. I couldn't get hold of him. And whenever I tried to call him, he was busy working with his hands, so he couldn't take my calls. And I had the need. He wanted to make money, he had availability, but I didn't know that he had that availability. So I started thinking how to solve my very own problem and also his problem. And then I realized that pretty much everybody who works with their hands, whether they paint somebody's nails or they cut hair or they give somebody a massage, they work with their hands and they are not able to take calls. And then I connected the dots with the local services as a broader category, that we could also include plumbers and roofers and handymen and a lot of other verticals. But as we started analyzing the market, we had that feeling that it was too broad of an approach, and that to build something big and to be great at something, you have to focus. You cannot do everything. So we decided to double down on hair and beauty as our wedge to win that market of local services.
Very interesting. So folks, those of you who are listening, I want to highlight a couple of nuggets in what Stefan has said so far. This model of building a services company and then incubating product ideas or marketplace ideas or e-commerce ideas or SaaS ideas within a services company is a tried and true approach. So as you know, we promote and espouse the bootstrapping using services strategy very, very heavily. It's a tried and true strategy. We know entrepreneur after entrepreneur who have succeeded with this model. So we like this model. We see great potential in this model. And there's, huge technical talent out there who are, capable of building, tinkering, experimenting with different ideas. And I think this is a very, very interesting story that Stefan is telling us of tinkering with some ideas and then really validating the market to get to a product market fit situation, which is in this case, scheduling software as it pertains to hair and beauty, local services, hair and beauty. So Stefan, let's talk about that phase of your journey. You now have product market fit. You've decided to go into the hair and beauty market with this scheduling software. What happens next?
Well, we bootstrapped the company. We built the product, but the revenue the software company was generating, it was barely enough to build the product and to maintain the product team. But we didn't really have money for acquisition. So we decided to raise a round. And that's when we spin off Booksy as a separate entity to get funded. And we raised our seed round in literally, that was the last day of July 2015. Got the money and started hiring people here in the US and in Poland as our initial 2 markets where we launched Booksy. And it was a lot of trials and errors because we didn't really know how to sell it. Both Konrad and I, Konrad is my co-founder and partner, like we knew how to build software, we knew how to market that software, but we had no experience with field sales, with telesales. So it took us a few months to figure out the whole process. We knew we had product market fit because at the time we had, I think, nearly 100 service providers using us. So they validated the idea, and that allowed us to raise that seed round. But the next phase was basically learning how to build a sales team, how to scale that up, how to manage the team. And then the next step, as the company started growing, was how to build, structures, how to, build that management team that would help Konrad and myself to manage this growing company.
So I will spend some time talking about your financing strategy in a bit, but let's first talk about how did you sell the product? What was the go-to-market strategy that you settled on that actually worked?
It was a lot of trials and errors. In the very first few months, it was me who actually visited salons and I was selling by myself. I have this strong conviction that before you actually hire sales guys or a sales director, because a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't know how to sell. So they are hoping that, when somebody from the outside with sales experience comes on board, they are magically gonna solve all of their problems. But the issue is that a lot of these sales guys, they are professionals, but they don't understand the product that you build. They don't understand the market as well as you did. So even if you are not as effective,
they don't have the patience to experiment. They want you to figure out how to sell, what message will work, what is this go-to-market strategy, and then they will come and scale that. They will come to the rescue of victory. They don't have the patience to figure out how to sell.
Absolutely, you just nailed it. And then, there is different sales approaches and there is different sales talent out in the market. So before you hire people, you need to know, what kind of a sales process is it? Is it like more of transactional sales, or is it more relationship building? Like how long or how short is the sales cycle? So that's all that we figured out on our own. And even though I was not as efficient as I could have been if I were a great sales rep, I think that was a very valuable lesson, and that gave me even more conviction and the whole team that we really have product market fit, and it's only fine-tuning some of the details, fine-tuning the sales processes, and hiring the right people to do that. But that was crucial, that we were able to learn how to sell on our own before we started hiring people.
And what was the conclusion? Were you selling by phone? Were you doing Google AdWords and basically self-service selling on the internet? How were you selling?
That's a great question. Actually, we had 2 different conclusions in these 2 markets. So in Poland, we decided to launch field sales because online advertising didn't work for us. And in the US, we went with online advertising and then telesales that basically worked with the leads we acquired online. So these were 2 distinct strategies. And back then I was unhappy with that because I was hoping that we could have figured out, a common model across different markets. As we started launching more markets, it was a problem. And at some point I was even willing to pull out of the field sales model because it's always more headache, it's more hassle, and it's more expensive to hire field sales. But that actually led us to another discovery, and that was serendipity. But with online sales, we were spread across all of the US and other markets that we launched afterwards. But with field sales in Poland, what we learned is that because field sales actually focused on hyper-local markets, we discovered that we started building local liquidity, we started benefiting from network effects, And that made us aware that we were not in a pure SaaS business, but actually we were in a SaaS-led marketplace business, because that helped us to discover the benefits of network effects and how to start this flywheel. And in order to do that, you need to be focused on hyperlocal markets. So that was a learning that later on we applied to other markets.
This is a very interesting point that Stefan is making, and let me actually explain a bit more of what he's talking about. So this is a trend that we're seeing a lot. We call it SaaS-enabled Marketplace. So you go into a customer base with a SaaS product. So in this case, it's scheduling software for the hair and beauty industry, hyperlocal. And as you start, having these companies bring on their clients onto your product, there's a large number of consumers who are interacting with your system and so forth. So you're building a large consumer base of users of your product. So at some point, the network effects, the economies of scale take over, and you have a very large consumer base, and you have a large number of small businesses looking for clients. So you could also create a marketplace. So this is one of the strategies we see a lot these days, especially in various vertical marketplaces, where you start with a software as a service product, build a clientele of the software as a service product, and then at the right moment, flip that into a SaaS-enabled marketplace. So you have subscription revenue, and then you also start generating transaction revenue because the marketplace effect also starts to kick in. And that is one of the classic, textbook case studies that Booksy has done, is transformed from a SaaS company to a SaaS-enabled marketplace company. So Stefan, in that transition, I want to ask, did you make that transition based on just the hair and beauty industry, or were you already in other marketplaces or other market segments as a SaaS company before making that transition?
It was pure hair and beauty. At that time, we were focusing on this one vertical, because even within hair and beauty, you have a lot of sub verticals. And in order to cover them all, like at first glance, they all look very similar. But when you dig in, you realize that there is a lot of differences between barbers and hairstylists and nail technicians and brows and lashes and braids and so on and so forth. So we didn't want to expand and go beyond, because we felt we still had a lot of work to do within hair and beauty vertical. But what happened about 18 months ago in Poland, which is our most mature market right now, is that we had so many consumers using Booksy that some of these consumers, they started signing up with us as service providers in other verticals. So, a guy that used Booksy to book his barber appointments, he signed up with us because he owned a car garage or car workshop, and he thought, Booksy could be a great way for him to schedule his clients. We had some retail stores, especially during the pandemic and lockdowns and post lockdowns, people were looking for tools to schedule their clients instead of having them queuing in front of their stores. So we had a lot of different verticals and different businesses we had never expected to use Booksy coming on board, including some banks and insurance companies and telcos. So today, Booksy is a marketplace for all appointments in Poland.
Very interesting. And geographically, though, you started expanding very quickly. You were doing US and Poland, but you started adding more markets fairly quickly.
Yeah, and that was a big mistake, because after the US and Poland, we raised another seed round because we were successful in these two markets. And we had thought wow, we are doing so good, we should expand. And we launched 8 other markets, including India and the Philippines and Singapore and Brazil and Argentina, South Africa, the UK and Ireland. And a few months down the road, we realized that we were too stretched, too thin across all of these markets. And we were also too young of a company. We had immature processes. The management team was still fairly junior, and we didn't know how to manage all these 10 markets. We didn't know how to replicate best practices. In fact, we didn't have best practices. We just replicated all the bad practices from Poland and
each of these markets operate differently. I mean, how customer acquisition in the US and customer acquisition in India is very, very different.
Absolutely.
Especially SMB customer acquisition in India is a very different ballgame.
So that was probably
shut down some of those markets eventually.
Yeah, eventually we shut down 4 of them and put South Africa into a kind of a freeze or sleep mode. And we decided to double down on 5 markets that were growing the strongest. And that was definitely the right move. From the hindsight, I'm actually thinking that we should have been more aggressive, and maybe we should freeze 2 other markets and just focus on the US, the UK, and Poland, and maybe restart them now, as we are literally doing it as we speak right now. So we are now hiring more people in South Africa and Brazil, but that's easy to see from the hindsight. But back then we had that ambition to become the global leader, and we thought the more the better, which was a mistake.
So now, with the current situation, the current market, when we spoke, I can't remember exactly when we spoke, but you were already doing like 100 million revenue, right?
Revenue-wise, we are not there yet, but the value of services, GMV, it's already over $2.3 billion as of end of April. So that's a quite sizable business.
Now, how does your business split in subscription revenue versus transaction GMV revenue?
That depends on the market and its maturity. So in our most mature markets, and now I'm referring to cities, not even to countries. So our most mature markets yield twice as much marketplace revenue as subscription. So it's 2 to 1, or 60-70% coming from marketplace and less than 40% coming from subscription. In our youngest markets, it's even 100% subscription, because we don't really launch that marketplace until we see we have enough liquidity. So overall, it's like 25 on blended basis across all the markets. 25% comes from our marketplace and 75 still comes from the subscription. But fast forward to 2 years from now, we are expecting to have way more revenue from the marketplace than subscription across all the markets.
Marketplace is a more scalable model eventually, but this is one of the questions we get a lot, is how do you seed a vertical marketplace, a two-sided marketplace? And my answer to that is, one of the best ways to seed a two-sided marketplace is with the SaaS-enabled marketplace model, where you figure out the requirements of one side of the marketplace, provide a software to meet those, maybe even provide software to both sides of the marketplace, bring them together, and then create the marketplace on top of that. So this is quite brilliant. Stefan, what is your marketplace commission? Is it 10%?
That's anywhere between 30 and 50%, but we charge for bringing new clients only. So this is one-time commission. We never charge for returning clients. So assuming that a client is going to return and they are going to visit that salon, let's say 5 times, we are kind of taking that money upfront instead of spreading that across subsequent visits. And the reason we are doing that is to not to incentivize salons to poach the clients, because they feel that they have no incentive to poach the clients and disintermediate if they paid upfront, and it's still pretty good.
It's a bit more of a lead generation business model as opposed to a pure marketplace business model. A marketplace business model is more commission on the full transaction volume.
Yeah.
Got it. Very good. switching tracks a little bit, I want to spend some time on your financing strategy. You have raised money in Europe and you have raised money in the US. So let's start with the very early stage financing. You raised an angel round in Poland. So talk about that. What was your experience? And what are some of the salient points of that particular fundraising?
I decided to take shortcuts because I was like well connected in Poland. I knew people. I had been entrepreneur with a solid track record. I IPO'd my first software company, so people trusted me, and it was fairly easy to raise that seed round in Poland. But from the hindsight, I'm seeing that as a mistake because we should have moved the company and started fundraising in the US as early as possible, because once you raise money in Europe and then you want to raise your B round in the US, like there is no connecting tissue. Like a lot of investors I spoke with, like none of them has already told me that directly, but when I back channeled through people that connected me with these investors, like I've heard like a lot of answers that back then seemed like unjust to me, like, oh, I don't know any of his investors, this is a great business, I love their traction, but if I'm gonna be, if I'm gonna lead the next round and I don't know what it's like to work with these guys, I'm risking that, they will vote me and I won't have anything to say. Like, so a lot of US investors didn't want to invest into a company that was ran by a random guy from Poland with some random investors from Europe, and they didn't know anything about me or anything about our early stage investors. So that was probably.
I will make one comment though for people who are listening to you and learning from this conversation. You are not a first-time entrepreneur. So I imagine that even if you, as a non-first-time entrepreneur who has had track record, even in Poland, you come into the US, you have a shot at raising money. But it's not that easy for a first-time entrepreneur out of Poland or Ukraine or Hungary or even France to just land in the US and raise an angel round. That is not so easy. So I'm going to actually say that this conclusion that you are coming to is a little bit to be taken with some more analysis, because as a first-time entrepreneur trying to raise an angel round, it may not be such a bad idea to raise money in your local European geography, just because you don't have the option to just land unless you've bootstrapped yourself to a level of validation where US investors feel comfortable being your first check in. But if you need, if you're early, even if you're bootstrapped to a certain level of validation, but it's still very early, that you may not have an option but to work with a European investor. And by the way, folks, this is a very different scenario when you look at the India-US corridor. The India-US corridor is very well connected. It's not like the European corridor with the US. The Europe to Silicon Valley bridge is a lot weaker than the India to Silicon Valley bridge. India-Silicon Valley bridge is solid. You can raise money in India as much as you want to, and then come into the US, and you will be able to find very good bridges, regardless of where you raise your first round. So that's just commentary to kind of embellish the learning from your journey. So let's talk now about when you raised money in the US. What else did you learn in that process as a European company?
That's a very good question. One thing I've learned is that you should be very selective who you want to go to, because at first I was just like kind of blind shooting and going after random investors. And again, like, now when I look at that from the hindsight, it totally didn't make sense, because it's hard for any investor to understand a space they've never been in, like they've never invested into. So it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So I met with a lot of investors that are super smart, and I expected them to understand our business model, which is not that easy when you look under the hood and look at all the wiring. Like, there is a lot of levers that we have, and a lot of investors, like, they didn't get it. And I was quite surprised, because I thought, wow, these are like super smart guys, like post Harvard, post Stanford, with MBAs. They invested into some great companies. Why they are not getting it? And what I've learned is that, being an investor, it's about pattern recognition. So, and they specialize. So if somebody has never done SaaS-led marketplaces, and you pitch the model to them and you tell them, like, right now we are just, doing land grabbing, and, the average revenue per provider is low, but as soon as we build liquidity, it's going to be higher. Like, if they haven't seen that model working, like, they don't believe you. So it was very important to go.
To be fair, when you went to do this fundraising round, the SaaS-enabled marketplace model was not yet that prevalent. It has become more prevalent since. So I think there's a bit more understanding of that model, but at the time, there's a lot of timing. The minute you're innovating, you're bringing new things to the table. So there are certain investors who are very, very good at grasping innovation and grasping something new and something different they can extrapolate. And then there are other, and the vast majority of investors fall in this category. They're just looking for pattern matchings. And that's where I think you would, if you are following my work, folks, you have heard me say this over and over again. Just like you're looking for product market fit, look for investor entrepreneur fit. Investor entrepreneur fit has to do with geography, has to do with business sector, has to do with business model, has to do with stage, has to do with, style of investing. There's a whole bunch of parameters in investor entrepreneur fit that you need to also pay attention to before you can raise a successful venture round. So what Stefan is saying is very, very important, and I want to underscore what he's saying. Please internalize this point that if you want to raise money, investor and entrepreneur fit is your mantra. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to close a round.
Couldn't agree more with that.
So how are things now in Poland? Have this ecosystem matured quite a lot?
Yeah, I think the ecosystem in Poland has made tremendous progress in the past couple of years. There is a lot of new funds, and they have amazing investment portfolios, and they started investing across Europe, and they are also making some investments in the US, and they are learning very fast because they are co-investing with funds like Andreessen Horowitz, Insight Ventures, with Index Ventures.
The bridge is being built, which is great.
Exactly.
And what about the entrepreneur side? How many entrepreneurs, how many startups are operating in Poland right now? Do you have a sense?
I think it's, a few thousand, and there is probably a couple hundred like really good companies. The ecosystem is still young, but on the backs of companies like Booksy or Dog Planner or Brainly, there are some ex-employees of those three companies. They are starting their own startups, and they've learned with us. They've seen how we did it, and I think there was that glass ceiling in Poland for many, many years. Like, people did not believe that you can build a global startup out of Poland. But as there is more and more successful examples, more people believe that they can do that. They work at these companies, and they get the courage, they get the conviction, and there is more companies starting every single quarter than ever before. So I'm very optimistic that both the ecosystem is gonna flourish in the coming years, and there is a much stronger bridge going to be built between different ecosystems.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations, Stefan. You've done a wonderful job with Booksy, and you know your story is very encouraging for these millions of technical people. You know, people who don't have a business background but come out of the depths of technical knowledge and expertise and have learned the business side. I'm a big believer that people who have a technical background and have worked seriously in tech can learn the business side. And we've seen this over and over and over again. I actually myself, I do not have a business degree. You know, people think I went to Sloan at MIT. I didn't. I'm a computer scientist. I'm a hardcore computer scientist. I was working on the first, one of the two first parallel computing projects at MIT. I've done very serious technology work, and I learned everything else as I went along on the job. So my first job out of grad school, or while at grad school, was a CEO job because I started a company. So I'm a huge believer in technology people, technical people being able to learn whatever you need to learn about business. And 1Mby1M is a perfect place for you to learn that, because we have structured the whole program with that in mind, that you can learn, and we are going to learn you bit by bit by bit. We're going to, help you learn that and teach you all of the pieces that you need to learn. So Stefan, you're a textbook example of my mantra.
Thank you, and I'm proud to be part of that program. If I only help one entrepreneur today who listened to our conversation, I'm gonna be fulfilled.
You did, because we have actually 1Mby1M premium member company that is trying to launch a marketplace, and I just talked to them yesterday, and they're here listening to you, and I talked about SaaS-enabled marketplaces to them. So I'm sure Jill and Ricky Howard are listening, and I'm sure you are getting a feel for what we are talking about here. So they're not technical, but they're learning the business model that we are talking about and how to seed a SaaS-enabled marketplace business. So perfect. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, we are going to go to the entrepreneur pitch session next. So I know we have at least one pitch and maybe a couple of discussions. I see some premium members here today, so we'll see how it goes. Just remember one thing. We are on your side. We have absolutely no other agenda. This is a place where you can feel safe. It's a safe working session. We're going to work on your venture and see how to accelerate it. That's all. If you disagree with the feedback I give you, that's fine. It's your venture. You do whatever you want. Listen to the feedback. It's based on lots of experience. So consider the feedback and then decide what you want to do. Ashutosh Prasad from Dallas, Texas, you are going to pitch next. Ashutosh, please unmute your line.
Awesome. Can you hear me, Shramana, and everyone?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hear you. Please go ahead.
First of all, before we start the pitch, I would like to say thanks for the opportunity and let you know that we have not spoken before, but I'm a huge fan. You're one of the only voices that I know in the industry who actually promotes bootstrapping and all the strategies around it. And as you go through the pitch, you will see that, that's what we have done.
Good, good. I have single-handedly changed the conversation around bootstrapping in the world, actually.
Yeah. No.
and a lot of people hate me for that.
No, but that's what the entrepreneurs need, the validation that others have done it.
All right, so go ahead. Tell me what you're doing.
Awesome. So, hi, everyone. My name is Ashutosh. Everyone calls me Ash, whatever is easier for you. I've been in the logistics and supply chain industry for 20 plus years. Until May 2019, I was a vice president at XPO Logistics in North America, one of the top 40 executives heading M&A integration, post-acquisitions, innovation, product strategy, give or take about 86 people reported to me across 4 locations. Before that, I established business units at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young, Oracle, I2 Technologies, which was a pioneer in supply chain technology and systems worldwide, which became JDA and is Blue Yonder and is today Panasonic. So with my background in the industry, I partnered with my younger brother, who's based out of Bangalore, India. So in very interesting story, in 1999, when I graduated, he was in grade 5. So all the things, all the mistakes I did, all through these years, I got engaged with him from a very early age. And fortunately, he took
You mentored him.
Yeah. So he's been building applications since grade 7. And he's one of the most advanced AI edge computing data science guys that I know of. And I have friends from Silicon Valley to, all over the world, from Singapore ecosystem to Europe. Pretty smart guy. So combining his technology expertise and my deep domain expertise, what we did, we created, and the premise is very simple. It's we call it AI OT powered hyper automation platform for logistics and supply chain. Next slide, please. We are working across two pillars. One is intelligent OCR, and second one is machine vision and sensor fusion. There are many companies that have come up in the intelligent OCR space, but the conversation that how we got started on this. 5 years back, I reached out to Abby, Silicon Valley-based company, and I asked them for an API, which will give me context-based OCR. And they asked me for 100K. And I said, okay, they don't have it. I'm going to build it on my own. I did, and we built this, and we have replaced Abby on many deals now. And we are one of the most advanced companies in this space right now. And the reason is very simple. Every single company out there are going to customers and they're saying, give me your document templates, and we are a model by data tagging, etc. We knew what we wanted to do. We went with a very different approach. Tech in a way that it mimics how a human brain actually reads information. So our tech is actually reading a document versus based on data tagging. And that gives us tremendous leverage in a number of uses in logistics and supply chain. The second version, we work with high software. So we are working with sensors like LiDAR, stereo depth sensing sensors, and whatever the use cases may require. And combining these two, we are applying it in 4 functional areas. Next slide, please. So these are the 4 functional areas. If you think about the global supply chain from a factory in Taiwan to shipping of the product to the ports, filing customs, the freight forwarders do the booking, they move things from, let's say, Taiwan to United States, then releasing of customs, and then shipping through ground, air, rail, different modes. So we looked at the entire value chain, and I'm one of the few people in the industry that understands all aspects of the logistics and supply chain. And so taking these 2 core tech, we started applying in freight forwarding and customs for global freight forwarders. Then in maritime and intermodal, we have done deals with ports, intermodal companies. In warehouse management, we are working on inventory optimization, distribution, digital twin technologies. And what I mean by enterprise is, like companies like PepsiCo's or the Cargills of the world. Every company has a supply chain. Next slide, please.
Sure.
It's a pretty large market, so I won't spend much. This slide basically provides 2 perspectives, the functional and the technology perspective from an automation play. Next one, please. We have achieved. Can we move to the next slide, Ramana, please? Yeah. So we've been launched in May 2019, but we've been building this for quite over 5 years. So these are some of the testimonials. We just signed a technology alliance with a $21 billion company, Mahindra Group, from India, after a 3-month engagement with them. A technology alliance means now we are long-time partner. We have become long-time partners with Mahindra Group across a number of use cases and a number of across the business units. Likewise, we have done.
They're going to do the system integration work.
We are doing actually warehouse automation for them.
Sorry, come again?
We are doing warehouse automation for them, reducing inventory.
So they are the client. They're not the system integration partner. They are the client.
Yeah, Mahindra Group, it's Mahindra Logistics. It's a $500 million unit. They're an aggressive trajectory to double the number of warehouses, publicly stated goal.
Very good. That's a pure customer. That's fantastic. Great. How big is the deal?
Yeah. So it's going to be. I can't share the numbers because of the NDA we have signed, but yeah, it's across all their warehouses basically.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Fabulous. Congratulations. That's very hard to do deals, but well done.
Yeah, we have done one of the most innovative projects worldwide in the warehousing space, and we have several patents in this area. In the competitive landscape, these are all these companies on the left on the document side. They are our competitors, and the differentiation is we are the only company out there worldwide that's templateless. So that gives us enormous scale. I can go and sell to a platform and embed our APIs versus doing a customer by customer. I call it take the forest, not the tree strategy. Likewise, in the port space, these are some of the companies we come across. Some of them are European. And on the warehousing side, MyCargo, they raised $6.5 million a month back, and TechCrunch wrote a big article on them. They raised capital from Founders Fund and a few other companies, and they were aspirational in what they want to do with dock doors, loading process.
No, I have a very good sense of what you're doing. I don't know if you know this. I'm the daughter of a shipping entrepreneur. My father built one of the first, early container shipping lines in India. It was called Himalaya Shipping. And so when I was growing up, he was running a shipping company, and they owned a whole bunch of ships. And then he has been in the shipping industry for his entire career. So all this terminology that you are rattling out, the freight forwarding and customs and all of this, I know from living that life. So I know exactly the problem that you're talking about.
Fantastic.
So tell me what brings you here. What is your revenue right now? You have some revenues already, right?
Right. Yeah. So we are under 200K right now, but our first go live was in October 2020. And since then, I've taken this to 12 countries. So my outstanding pipeline is around $20 million. And that's what these projections are based on. You can think of deal like Mahindra Group, like 15 to 50, 100 warehouses, just one deal. So that's why, it's but we are pretty confident about it.
What you're doing is long sales cycle deals. So, but the fact that you have a $20 million pipeline means those deals are going to sooner or later close as you start showing the POCs to.
Right, and on these deals, we are the only player. It's an RFP, so it's just getting to commercial agreement. This is
we started raising
Sorry, Shramana.
You want to raise money? Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah.
You want to raise money? That's what I'm saying.
Right. Exactly. Because
we can raise money. If you want to work with me, I'll be happy to raise money for you.
Absolutely. I don't have the Silicon Valley connections, and I know you are right there in the entrepreneur side. So that's it.
It's not a problem to raise money for at all. Happy to raise money for you.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Okay, so you know how it works, right? You need to be in the premium program for us to work on a funding round, but absolutely.
Sure. The biggest problem that I'm facing with So the reason I'm here, Shramana, is we engaged with some investment firms. They are doing due diligence on us. Like Silicon Valley, there are companies like MyCargo. They have raised 6.5. If you look at Rossum, 4.9, and others, without any revenue, any customer, these companies raised like at a 20 million valuation. I'm engaged in 12 countries today with some of the leading brand names. So I'm struggling with the valuation play. Our revenue is not quite there yet, but we are at a tipping point.
Yeah. Well, as I said, let's join the program, and I will advise you on exactly how to play your hand.
Okay, thanks. Next slide,
Very
please.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well done. Very good work.
Thank you. If you go to the last slide for just 1 sec.
Sure. This one?
The previous
one?
The previous one.
Ah.
So we have received recognition over the most recently from Switzerland. We got invite from 15 corporates, and partner gave supply chain execution in 2020 from Europe, Singapore, South North America. Everywhere we have gone, we have won innovation awards. And this,
very good.
So yeah, that's all I share.
Great. Well, very impressive. Very good work.
Thank you.
All right. Ricky and Jill, you have a question. Do you want to go through something in the slides? You have questions, please unmute your line and let's talk through. So Ricky and Jill are premium members of the program. I just talked to them yesterday, so I guess they have some follow-on questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so you brought up a really good question yesterday. First of all, we wanted to tell you that we loved your feedback and appreciate it. It was some hard stuff to kind of face, but that's what we need, so we appreciate that. Your question was, what other service can we offer to make our platform valuable while it is currently not valuable due to traffic? And so we came up with a couple of ideas that we did want to run by you. A couple of things we thought that we would be able to offer people as they sign up until we gain some traction in the business would be social media, highlighting the businesses and reposting posts from their business pages on our social media, which we are working on researching to organically grow an engaging audience on our social media to make that a valuable option for them. Another thing,
not unless you have millions of followers.
What's that?
Not unless you have millions of followers on social media.
Yes, and that's yeah, because we're so new, we don't have that, and so to make that an attractive option for them, that's definitely something we need to work on doing.
So here's a piece of guidance on that.
Okay.
Look for value that you can offer that maybe our workflow automation kind of value. The case study that we just looked at earlier today with Stefan's company, Booksy. Look at what they did. This is the Booksy case study, by the way, is available on the blog and in your curriculum. So go study the Booksy case study in much more detail. Basically, they offered a scheduling software for hair salons and beauty salons and so on. The scheduling software is a workflow software. It is not contingent upon their having millions of followers. It's a piece of software that these people needed, that they developed and that they offered for a fee. So is there something that the kinds of people that you are talking about, is there something that these people need that you can sell them, even if it's for $5 or $10 a month, something small, something manageable? Then you can develop it. You can outsource the development of it. Small software can be developed in an outsourced mode, but you need to figure out what is that piece of software that can get you in the door.
Well, and interesting.
You understand?
Yes, I totally understand. One thing that we did talk about for a future plan, and maybe we need to rework that to be something we start doing now, but interestingly enough, one thing we did talk about was making it available to book appointments with personal trainers, the tanning salons that we have on our site, making it available to book with them through our platform. And like I said, that's something we planned on doing in the future, but maybe that is something we could even talk to Stefan about.
Very much so. Very much so. But you have to also, in that process, you need to do the competitive analysis. Now you're going to face other companies that are in that industry. So, go look at the competitive analysis of what's that situation. Is that software available? What are they using, etc. What is the fitness industry using, and figure it out that way.
Okay.
I mean, my personal trainer, for example, just does all the scheduling by email.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
okay,
what we've seen a
is that
lot
it?
of. Got anything else to add?
No, that was really it. I think we listened to Stefan, and it was good. We were glad that we were able to hear him speak about his business and kind of what he did to structure it and build it. And I think we were both kind of, light bulbs were going off as he was talking. So there was a good little.
Yeah, you should go study the Booksy case study. It's actually serendipitous that you were listening to Stefan today, because I think Stefan's story is the perfect story for you to listen to and study from.
Yeah, definitely. And we were able to get his contact information. So I think that'll be a good little thing in the future to be able to link up with him and speak further about some just opportunities and kind of eye-opening experiences that he might have had that we can learn from.
Yeah, very good. All right. Ashish Kumar is next. Ashish has just won a contest. So Ashish, could you please introduce yourself and talk about the contest that you won, which brings you to 1 million by 1 million?
Thanks, Ramana. Thanks a lot for, first of all, accepting the premium membership. This was like kind of, when something is written in the destiny, you reach to that. That is what it happened to me. 15 days back, I tested COVID positive, and I was just isolated in home. And I was like, the symptoms were mild, but I just wanted to be doubly sure and be responsible enough not to spread this. And that is the time when I was just trying to spend time in a room, and it's very difficult. How do you spend time in a room and do what? Like how much you can watch TV or do what else? So I was just surfing through, and I got to know this contest which BitChamp was running as the Indian Premiership, wherein I think with the Captain Core was partnering with them, and this was all about how you ensure that through the simulation game you have to have the maximum bottom line after 5 rounds. And this game was basically played online with 375 other folks all across India, and some of them were also from US, UK, and Australia. And it was run, from 9 a.m. to till 5 p.m. And in every round they had elimination with certain criteria, with the bottom line you have generated in the with your own business stuff which you have done. So basically in each round you have all the 5 functions of the company, say sales, marketing, production, and other stuffs, and you take real life business decisions there. And based on that, with the algorithm, there are certain sales and the cost and the overall bottom line gets calculated. And then it was decided. I wasn't expecting to win. First of all, I was like, okay, let me participate and just see what happens. But that happened to be that I won it. And that too at the time when you are down with COVID, and also it was quite motivating. But to be on the sorry.
Are you feeling better now?
Yeah. So this was like 10 days back, 10, 12 days back. Now I've recovered fully. I got it, I got the COVID tested again, and I'm negative. So now it's perfectly fine. But on a serious note, Sramana, so just a little about myself. I have 13 years of sales experience. I've worked across Coke, Cadbury, Airtel, and Amazon, which is like different sectors and leading company in the industry. Currently, I'm working with Amazon as head of sales, headquartered in Bangalore. And I have been with Amazon for last 5 years. Have been part of 2 teams which has been into startup kind of stuff. One was Amazon Devices, and second was Amazon Distribution.in, which is where I'm currently heading the sales part. So basically, Amazon Distribution.in is a B2B FMCG aggregator model, wherein we are catering to all the FMCG kirana stores, majorly focusing on FMCG stationery and OTC products. And as you know, like in India, you have millions and millions of FMCG stores, which is like and quite a broken distribution setup, and a lot of inefficiency in terms of inventory management, in terms of overall cost and the profit for each one of these guys. So that's what we wanted to solve. Now, having worked for 13 years, I was, there was an itch inside that, can I start something of my own? And that's where, BeUniCom happens to be. There's an idea which struck somewhere, 2 months back to me. And we can go to the next slide.
Ashish, just a quick question before we go to the next slide. You haven't quit Amazon yet, right?
So I'm on a long leave, basically on a notice period, and I want to basically leave that company and join some of the, trying out with some of the companies which can allow me to pursue this for some time, and then I want to become a full-time into BeUniCom.
So that's where I was going. I think I haven't looked at your business plan yet, or it looks like a pretty early stage situation. We are big fans of not only bootstrapping using services, but also bootstrapping with a paycheck. So if you're familiar with my work, we look for bootstrapping techniques.
I gone through the course bootstrapping with paychecks, and when I was going through the the video, it was like it's so much coinciding with what you were telling. Is something is what I was strategizing in my mind some time back.
Very good. All right, let's listen to what you're doing.
Yeah. So basically, there is something called GI, geographical indication. Say champagne is a GI product, or say in India you have Shantiniketan bags, Darjeeling tea, and like that there are 6,000 GI products, right? These GI products are basically good in quality. There is a good demand, but these are scattered all across world. There isn't a place in India as of now, in India or in the world, where all of these items, or say maybe even 1/10 of all these 6,000 items are available for a customer to buy. So that's one side of the story. Second is, even if you are able to find out a particular product from these categories, what you will find is sellers will be selling at a very, very exorbitant high cost, maybe 5 to 10x minimum. So if I tell you that a Shantiniketan bag from Kolkata, if I get that in Chennai, probably that bag will cost me at least 5 times more than what it will be available, in Kolkata. So one is the higher price for the customer, and third one is because Darjeeling tea or say a particular GI product is so famous that there are a lot of fakes available in the market. So many manufacturers create Me Too products and then they try to take advantage of it. So these are the basically three problems. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yeah, a very big problem in this area, what you're talking about, is in the wine industry. The Chinese buy wine bottles, empty wine bottles, and fill them up with shit and sell them in the.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So the idea here is that I wanted to basically basically go to these sellers, do the the overall. So the basic idea is, can I connect these manufacturers, the GI manufacturer, who are select ones, and we know who are they. They are all regulated through the government agencies all across the world, either through WTO or WIPO or Government of India or any IP agency. So I wanted to connect these GI manufacturers with the customers directly, via a e-commerce platform medium, right? And
are you proposing B2C or B2B?
Basically both, Shramana, because there are both the opportunities in terms of demand is available. Say in city like Ranchi or Muzaffarpur, in Jharkhand or Bihar, or say, Bathinda in Punjab, if you go, there are customers who actually go and ask these retailers as well about these kind of products. And these retailers somehow, either they end up buying a Me Too product, or they really have, one or two connection, and somehow they get it some point of time, but not with regular supply. So you do have a good B2B demand as well as a B2C demand. And I just want to ensure that B2B probably can help us, sustain or maybe, gain the momentum. And probably B2C is something which is a little difficult, and, it can, come in a later stage. But currently what I'm thinking is B2B and B2C model both. Yeah.
Ashish, one thing you may have heard me say, but you will definitely hear me say as we go along working together, is the notion of unfair advantage. You as an entrepreneur have unfair advantage in B2B. You have really deep experience in the B2B relationship selling. Don't forget that unfair advantage and see what you can bring to the table, against that advantage. Because in an entrepreneur, unfair advantage is a incredibly valuable thing. So when you're talking to investors, unfair advantage is highly valued, domain knowledge is highly valued, and so on. The other thing that you should think about is that you are looking at the world through the lens of a GI product, but the customer side doesn't look at it as a GI product. The same store is not going to sell Darjeeling tea and champagne and Chateau Latour wine and Shantiniketan bags. These are highly segmented, highly fragmented buyers. So putting them in one marketplace doesn't really buy you that much in that you're not bringing, it's not a vertical marketplace, so to speak. So we need to work through what is the best way to play this, and do you do separate marketplace, separate GI marketplaces that are verticals, and in which case you need to start with some of the larger ones and figure out how to play that game. And the other thing that I would recommend that you also study is what we just discussed today earlier, is the SaaS-enabled Marketplace model.
Mm-hmm.
So are we doing e-commerce as in straight retail e-commerce, whether it's wholesale or retail, or are we doing marketplace? Which business model do you want to pursue is a decision that we're going to have to make.
Yeah. So Shramana, the way I was thinking or looking at it is like this. If I categorize these, say, 6,000 products, you are right. It will come into, there will be a beverage category, and within beverage, you will have types of beverages, right? And say, take an example of Amazon, where you have those pages where there are categories, and within the category, you have subcategory. What I was thinking is that if, I have AIs, an advanced AI support, through which I can, target the right customers who are looking for these type of products, or who have shown an intention to, buy something similar product. We can reach out to them through AI, whether it is B2B or B2C, and, we can bring them to our, page. And once we bring them to our page, then, the whole, site has to be designed in such a way that it actually creates a good experience for the customer in terms of which category of product he wants to browse and buy.
Yeah, but Amazon did not start there, right? Amazon started with books. Within books, it had subcategories, but it started with books, and then digital media and other media products, etc. So you have to start somewhere. You can layer in stuff as you go along, because if you want to build the ecosystem around tea, tea is an industry in itself. There are, millions of tea shops and tea lounges, both retail as well as restaurants, cafes and restaurants and tea salons that are going to be your buyers potentially on the B2B side, and not to mention the B2C side. So tea is a whole separate category Wine is a whole separate category, and each of these have their own competitive landscape. Wine is a highly competitive ecosystem. You have wine still sold out, wine.com, blah, blah, blah. All of those are going to be your competitor unless you figure out how to manage that. And you have to understand how they're addressing the problem of fake and so on. So I don't buy that you can do all of this within one platform to start with. So you have to choose. And you're talking about AI. AI doesn't really buy you anything. AI works very well when you're working within a specific domain. AI doesn't cut across domains. If you know anything about AI algorithms work within domains. You can take the base engine, but you have to layer in the domain-specific vocabulary, domain-specific, heuristics for AI to be able to be effective. So anyway, I see what you're trying to do. I think it's an interesting idea. I suggest you go through the 1M curriculum and keep, using the roundtables to come and talk to me. You have access to all the private roundtables. You can come every week if you want. And let's just start building your strategy accordingly.
Yeah. So currently the way I'm thinking, timing. So yeah, I mean, one of the reason I see currently to get into this is like, at least in India, I see a lot of customers from B, C, or D category of towns are getting into the online purchase behavior because they are not left with any other mode of purchase.
Right.
And I think this is right time that at least we can try out this idea and we will have a larger base.
That's fine. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as one of the ways of going, one of the market, vectors that you're going to position around. One of the differentiating factors is going to be that you're going to be catering to the BC towns, the tier 2, tier 3 towns in India. So what products are in demand from those categories? Let's work through your GI list and figure out what categories are, of interest to those consumers.
Yeah, next.
And what is the channel? What is the B2B side? Are there retail stores that are interested in catering to them, or are we going direct to consumer? What is the right business model to cater to that consumer? So that's the peeling of the onion to come up with the right strategy for your business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you move to the next?
This is a bit early to talk traction and all that because
basically yet. Yeah, so I'll tell you what I have put here. Now this idea is there. I just wanted to validate all this, and I was thinking of that. Can I actually put a online store on Shopify and try out that say in South India? Currently, I'm in Bangalore. So Andhra, Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Karnataka all put together out of 300, GI list, close to some 50-60 items are from these 4 states. I was thinking that can I talk to these supplier, which is like, May, June, July, you see the count of supplier.
It's a perfect way to validate. Put a Shopify store together and see how suppliers behave, how consumers, absolutely, perfect way to validate.
Yeah. So this is what these numbers are. Basically, I wanted to, next 2 to 3 months, I want to put into this when I can validate all this idea and, see if I can generate certain revenue there.
Okay.
That's what
perfect.
this interaction.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I know currently in my mind, there are product, I want to pick up, which is from the, women apparel category. And, the another one is, household decor. There are 2-3 reasons why I picked up these 2 categories within the overall GI. One is that they come with a very high margin. There isn't a fixed price there. And because of that huge margin, probably it can give me a play that I can, use that and see how, I can improve into, in terms of business. Second also is like, there are a lot of consumers, say for Kanchipuram silk sari, not only in South, but also in North India, you have a lot of people, probably one can one can use these set of products to bring lot many customers who can buy, say, or see at least the other products which we have listed on the Shopify or the site.
So then you're talking about a direct-to-consumer model. You want to do a Shopify store with a direct-to-consumer model and focus on some specific categories and some specific suppliers. That's fine. Try that out. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, next. So because this is very scattered, currently we do not have the data here.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, now what the idea I talked to you, there is a company which I happened to find some time back, which is called GI Tag. Now this they have a store, actually a physical store in Bangalore, and they have started also an online whatever they have close to some 40 GI product selection currently on the store, but that kind of also gives me a confidence. Because they have been running this physical store for almost 2 years, and during this corona period they have invested something on the online bit. The Uber level feedback which I have received from the owner is that there is a good traction which they are looking experiencing. Now that gives me a good confidence that there is a niche, but that niche in India is also very huge in terms of numbers. So there is a good amount of consumers who are ready to buy even in a physical store or on an online. There's also one of the store which Government of India has opened on Goa Airport, which is again exclusively only for GI tag. And Government of India DIPP, which is a department which actually I think governs this particular domain of the product. They're also talking to Amazon and Flipkart in terms of how these two companies can help basically the GI manufacturers. So government also is quite supportive of something like this. If somebody wants to really come and try out as a business model.
Yeah, fine. Fine. You're gonna, some of it is gonna be you need to become known as a source of certain kinds of products that brings people to you, right? You gave the example of Kanjivaram silks. If a lot of Indian women all over India become aware of the fact that you have a great selection of Kanjivaram silks, then they would come to your site to look for Kanjivaram silks, and that's there will always be the question, the merchandising question is, do you spread yourself thin, or do you really deepen your presence in one or two sectors and one or two categories, and really, because there's going to be the next question, how do you finance the inventory? Are you going to buy the inventory with what? And that's going to be a controlling factor or constraining factor of how much you can show. E-commerce, right?
Right.
So.
Yep. Next. Yeah. So as I told you, there isn't currently there isn't someone who is actually focusing only on GI. Whether across the globe or in India, there isn't someone, and I see that can definitely be. If I am able to create a value, maybe that will take some time.
Yeah, but I'll tell you where I'm pushing back on this is that your branding, you need to think about your branding. The name of the company that you have doesn't have charisma in it. So if you're trying to sell Kanjivaram silks or some special fashion product or some luxury product, this brand is not going to be very interesting. You need to create a charismatic brand that can, like Amazon is a very charismatic brand, right? It started as a bookstore, but Amazon in its name was generic but also charismatic. So a lot of things could be captured within that. So you need to, I would recommend that you revisit the branding.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ashish, why don't we talk more next week at the private roundtable? You process some of the feedback that I've given you, and let's talk more in the private roundtable. I need to wrap up the session. It's getting close to our finish time.
Sure.
So you are several people, the three of you are working on this?
Yeah, we three are working on this.
And all of you have e-commerce background?
No, Rajiv has a finance background, while Robin has FMCD background.
I see. Okay. All right. So I'm fine with what you're proposing.
I just wanted your
giving you
just
feedback
30
as we go
seconds,
along.
Shravana.
Come again?
Yeah, just 30 seconds. So basically, to try this Shopify thing, just can you go to the last slide, just previous to this? Yeah. So basically, currently, if you see, in India, just now, Government of India has launched a corpus of 945 crore to help out, in terms of the Startup India and Stand Up India program. Wherein what they are doing is, if somebody has got an idea and he wants to really do the concept proofing, government is ready to fund or grant basically 20 lakh rupees just to prove the concept, which is what I wanted to do with the Shopify thing. Now to do that, what I need to do is, first of all, I need to register a company, and then I need to share the pitch with DIPP, who in turn a committee will evaluate, and if they find worthy enough, then they are ready to give you a grant of 20 lakhs rupees, which is not a debt, which is kind of a subsidy. And after that, if you are able to prove the concept, then they have another 1 crore rupees, which they can give you at a 4% interest rate as a convertible debenture, and you need to pay that in 6 years. That amount, and then again that also is an unsecured loan, wherein there's no collateral required from the promoters. So I was just thinking that at least the first part, which is just to make up the expenses for the concept proofing, I would need your help in terms of pitching it to DIPP, Government of India.
Yeah. So as you do the curriculum, I really recommend that you do intensely the curriculum as soon as possible. In the financing module, there are investor pitch templates. So, and we have a whole e-commerce section in the elective curriculum. So you have a lot of material to help you through that, but you're going to have to do the studying yourself, and just put the pitch together based on the template, and I will, help you fine-tune the pitch before you submit it.
If you can give me at least 10 seconds on what's your first feedback or a feel around this whole idea. Do you see that this can be worked out and it has a potential to grow?
Yeah, I think it can be worked out, but you're going to need to, the devil is in the details, because you're not coming into a market that doesn't have anything happening, right? And there are nuances that are missing from this, some of which I've pointed out. You will have a recording of this, so play back the recording and try to understand the nuances. One of the nuances is in the brand propagation because people are not looking for consumers, especially if it's a D2C, direct-to-consumer business. People are not looking for GI products, right? They're looking for, if a woman that showed the target audience, a woman is looking for Kanjivaram silk, they're not looking for GI products, they're looking for Kanjivaram silk. So on the internet, to be a successful e-commerce company, you have experience on the logistics and sales side of a B2B e-commerce. The B2C e-commerce is a different ballgame. You have to acquire customers online. And a large part of that happens through either online advertising, search engine marketing, etc. And there you have to understand what people search on and how people respond to digital advertising. And that's the piece, which is why I was asking you, what are the backgrounds of your founders? I didn't hear anybody has background on the B2C e-commerce side of customer acquisition. That's the gap in your team. So you're going to have to either learn that or hire somebody for that.
So in the previous, currently I'm handling B2B Amazon distribution. Before that, the Amazon devices, that's the B2C model, wherein we were selling directly to the customers online.
But did you handle the online customer acquisition? Did you handle digital marketing?
Right. Yeah.
So
Not the digital marketing part.
Then you know what I'm talking about. That's perfect.
Yeah, I get that. I get what you were saying. The GI thing was more as a concept, which I just wanted to narrate to you. But I get completely that no consumer backward, nobody asks for GI product. They are looking for Kanchipuram
No,
sari
they
silk.
don't. That's right. That's right. So I think the pitch needs to be reformatted somehow. We'll work on it, but you're going to need to reformat this pitch to reflect that understanding. But otherwise, it's a little bit naive. The pitch is a little bit naive because it doesn't. You're saying you're going to do B2B and B2C, but really, those are two different ball games. And the customer base and so forth, it's like, you know, it's like if you look at what Amazon pitched in 1994, you're going to have to go there, kind of think about it that way. Is like, okay, here's a pitch for what we're going to do now, and then this is how we're going to layer on other things as we go along. And what is the size of, like, if you're talking about, you know, saris, you're going to do authentic saris from, you know, the different Indian regions. Okay, fine. How big is that market? Are you doing the B2C or B2B and B2C? Then you need to put together what is the business plan for that, what is the TAM for that, and so on. And then the next category is going to be this. That's how we're going to need to pitch this. Not as a GI product thing. Because the champagne, how you sell champagne, whom you sell champagne to, and how you sell saris and who you sell saris to, these are very different businesses.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yep.
All right, very good. Very good to meet you, and welcome to the program.
Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, that's where we are. We're going to go through very quickly how to use 1 million by 1 million for those who are not yet premium programs, and you're very welcome to join. If you like what we're doing here, bring serious entrepreneurs into 1 million by 1 million. All the resources are at 1Mby1M.com. The blog is very rich. You will learn a lot from just reading the blog on a regular basis. You can use the Entrepreneur Journeys book series to learn, to start your learning journey. There are 12 volumes of case study-based books. These roundtables happen every week. You're welcome to come back as many times as you like. You can pitch only once, but if you are in the premium program, you can pitch as many times as you want and come discuss your projects with me. The full acceleration program is 1M by1M Premium. So you will get extensive methodology guidance, you have access to the digital curriculum, you get help with business development, you get regular online mentoring, consulting, coaching, whatever you call it. You get help with financing. We have a terrific network of investors, etc. Go through the self-assessment. These are the investor due diligence questions. If you get stuck, by all means, do the bootstrapping course on the website. That's free. And then if you want to go deeper and start plugging your knowledge gaps, you can also start with 1M by1M Basic, which is just $99 a month. Go through the website, dig around, see if this is the right program for you. If you're not willing to study on your own through our digital curriculum, we will not be able to help you. A lot of the success and scalability of 1 million by 1 million is predicated upon the assumption that you are capable of self-learning. If you're not, please do not join the program. I will not be able to spoon feed you. That is not how this program works. The curriculum is described in great detail on the website. It is a case study-based program. You are getting to stand on the shoulders of other people. I just showed you the case study of Stefan earlier at Booksy, what he has done from Poland. You learn a lot from his journey, and so on. We have 1,000 plus these kinds of case studies. You get to learn from other people who've done it before, and they've been very generous in sharing their entrepreneurial journey with us. Investor introduction policy is stated very clearly in great detail on the website. The key is what I discussed earlier. Investor-entrepreneur fit is absolutely key. Okay, so please, by all means, make sure that you have a good understanding of investor-entrepreneur fit before you apply for investment, and that's something we will help you through. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. You have to bootstrap first and raise money later. That's pretty much it. We have more roundtables in May, pretty much every week. You're welcome to come back. And that's it. We are kind of at the end of the session. If you have any questions, I will take it. If you have any questions, you can either type into the chat, or you can ask, you can use your audio here, or you can dial in, whichever way. Is there anybody who wants to have a quick chat before we adjourn? Let us know quickly in the public chat. And while you're doing that, let me introduce you to Irina Patterson. If you have questions about the program, Irina is your contact. Go ahead and talk to her, and she will answer your questions about the program. Anybody, questions? Amandeep Singh, please go ahead. You have a question. Go ahead.
Hi, Sumarna. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So, thank you for letting me join this. It was really helpful just trying to contextualize what you guys do. So I would definitely want to kind of join again next week and see more. I'm definitely interested in the program, so I'll definitely join in. So a few initial questions, I'll definitely talk to. I think you mentioned your I think Kelly maybe, or about the program. I'll talk to her, know more about the program. But so I'm exploring, trying to I work for a startup in Seattle, and I've been exploring starting a company for a while. And I think right now, I think the biggest support I can seek right now is a sounding board, for ideas, for foundational elements for the company. I'm for example, one question is, should I move to California? Is that a good place to start?
I don't think you should move to California at all. And I would strongly recommend that you first do the 1M by1M curriculum in as much depth as possible. It is a very common strategy that we use when we have bootstrapping with the paycheck founders, where people are holding on to their jobs and starting the exploration process. We don't encourage you to quit your job, to move, nothing. You first study and understand what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur. What are the steps? What are the building blocks of a startup?
Right.
So the easiest way to do that is just join 1M1M Basic. It's just $99 a month, and get going.
Yeah, I think curriculum is, I think definitely I'll definitely make use of that.
If you want a sounding board, if you want to talk to me on a regular basis, you're going to have to join the premium program.
Yes, perfectly. I think that's what I'm seeking. So I just wanted to make sure that's not too early for you guys.
No. We have lots of bootstrapping in the paycheck going on in the premium program. We have lots of ideas stage, napkin stage going on in the premium program. Nothing is too early for 1 million by 1 million.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I want to make sure. And I think I had a lot of foundational questions. I have I've gained enough experience running a startup. I own equity in a Seattle-based startup. I've been trying out for the last 6 years. It's not working well, so I'm actually trying to get trying to found one. So cool. Thank you. That's all I had. Just want to make sure. So I'll join in next week, and I think I'll try to kind of start premium probably from next week.
Okay, fantastic. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Smara. Yeah. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else with any other questions before we adjourn? Very quickly. Abhijit Sengupta, you are sending me a private message. Don't send me private messages. Good evening, Mr. Narayan Murthy says entrepreneurs should not have a plan B. Do you approve of this statement in the Indian context? Well, as I've said many times, we support bootstrapping with a paycheck. Bootstrapping with a paycheck leaves you with the option of a plan B. And I'm a supporter of that plan B in that if your idea doesn't validate, you still have your job to pay the bills. So I guess I don't agree with Narayan Murthy on this. Crystal Lucado, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this community. If you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, please connect as well. Okay. All right, I don't see any other questions, so we're going to adjourn for today, and feel free to come pitch your business, and I will be happy to learn more and advise you in more depth. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.